Yep. Okay.
And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 4 of Coffee with Curtis, and I am very excited about this one. Why, you ask? Because I got my lovely sisters in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, Phoebe Miu, Meganne Young.
Hello.
I love these two. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
I've been looking forward to catching up with you two. It's been long overdue. Phoebes, it feels like yesterday we were hanging out.
We were having actual coffee.
Yeah.
Face to face.
Can you believe that was like 8 months ago?
Was that 8 months ago?
It would have been.
Well,
I mean, not 8 months. It was like January, so almost
7? Yeah, nearly 8.
That's insane. Oh. Honestly, it feels like a different lifetime. Like even just January pre-COVID.
I know, right?
Yeah, a different world.
What is life right now? Am I right?
I don't even know.
Especially for you, Miss Young. Holy crap! I reached out to you guys about a week ago, and just for shits and giggles, I was just trying to pull information to inform myself as to what to speak about and all of that. And you had something like 40 or 50,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And as of today, you shot up to like over 200K something.
I think it's like 245K in like a couple of days. It's like very strange. Like all those people know my name. It's so weird.
It deserves one of these. Miss Meganne Young. Oh. Damn. An app that went beep, 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 beep.
No. Moment ruined.
We'll fix that in post. Don't worry about that.
But that's I mean, you were the best marshmallow ever.
Thank you. Curtis, have you seen it?
I've seen clips of it, but
okay.
Check this out. I mean, I have to show you this. Look at this.
Yay!
Megan.
Where are we? Oh yeah,
you guys are.
Aren't we like we were number 1 in Canada?
Yeah.
And the US. I think we were like number 1 globally at one point.
You're number 1 in the UK today. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, I can. Yep, that's us. We're number 1 in the UK.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I mean,
I think at one point in the US, I think we were like number 1 for the second movie, and then the first movie was like number 4 or something at the same time. It was so cool.
What is that? What is that like? Walk us through it. What is life like right now?
It's kind of surreal because like nothing in the day-to-day life has really changed. Like I'm still, I don't know, it's still going along as normal. I actually had quite a lot of anxiety through this whole week. I was like on an emotional roller coaster because it was really overwhelming just having all of these things going on and all the press leading up to it. And
of course,
we had the live yesterday, so we announced the third film, which is coming out next year. So we had that, and I've never done kind of like a live show like that. It was all scripted and timed and everything, and there were fans. Got to interact with some fans. So it's been really, really exciting and really overwhelming because I don't think I'm like, it's not my natural habitat to be like that, to be like on all the time and talking to people and interacting with so many people. I'm kind of quiet and, one person at a time, 2 people at a time over coffee. So it's been a lot, but ultimately really good, really positive.
That's amazing. It's almost like you have to create an alter ego, unfortunately.
Yeah,
The second you step on
definitely.
that stage and you got to turn on for the audience. And I'm curious how long, okay, so just to give people context. So Kissing Booth 2 just dropped
Hmm.
about a week ago,
Yeah.
right? And so you have just been bombarded with interviews left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Just to get you on here, I had to go through 4 of your publicists. I had to track down your cat.
Yeah, tell everyone it was that difficult to get hold of me.
No, but how long have you guys known about the release date, or was this sort of like a surprise COVID release?
So, for the second film, you mean
Yeah,
specifically?
yeah.
Yeah. So originally we were going to have a premiere in May, in
Oh,
mid-May, and that was going to be in person, and we were going to do like a proper press junket and everything. I was going to go down to LA, and then when COVID hit, we kind of held on to that for a bit, and we kind of went ahead with that plan, and we started planning even though all the restrictions were coming in, because at that point, I guess no one really knew how big it was or how much we would be affected. And then they decided no, they were going to postpone it. And then I forget when we actually announced the date. Joey, our lead, did a live stream on YouTube and announced it by like putting together this puzzle. It was really sweet. And then it had the date. I think it was July 24th. So yeah, it was kind of like a weird limbo moment. And then they're like, okay, this is the date. This is when we're releasing it. This is how we're going to do it. And then they kind of put together this whole week leading up. It was pretty impressive. They really did adapt to what's happened. I think everyone's had to do that, right? And like with Zoom and technology, it's been pretty cool to see how people have taken up the challenge.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that entire process and like the whole release thing has changed, because the going to the premiere, being down there, doing all the press in person, that's all part of like the craziness and the fun when and the excitement leading up to releasing your movie. So this is a complete different like doing it in a complete different capacity.
Yeah, it's been very unusual because I mean, I've only ever been to technically I've been to 2 premieres. One I kind of just like went. I was in the movie, but I had like a tiny little role and I kind of just like was like, okay, and tagged along and snuck in. And then the next kind of premiere that I went to, it was like it felt so different because you were with everyone and you're on the carpet and you had photos taken together and it really felt like that kind of celebration. So this, I mean, it still felt like that, but then
But at
I'm
the
just in my
comfort of your own
house.
home.
Yeah, so it's been strange. I am actually just so grateful that we have the third film because I'm really hoping by that time, we don't have an exact date yet, but I do hope that when we are releasing it, that we'll all get to be together, because I think that's such a huge part of being able to celebrate the film is to be together. And it is like an ensemble film.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be the case. So fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, and I hope you guys get the full shebang, that you get to experience, the big premiere, especially at the level you guys will be at by the time the third one drops.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I've been to a few premieres, a few for myself, and then a few for just other movies, supporting friends, not. And they're very overwhelming, right? Like the second you step foot onto that carpet, you got like hundreds of cameras on you, people trying to pull at you from every which direction. Everybody that is there could be great for your career or detrimental to your career if you say the wrong thing. So it took me a while before I could finally just forget about all of that and then really be present to really enjoy the experience. I had the privilege of going to the Mulan premiere in LA.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
so cool.
it was unreal on so many levels. I mean, I'm not in the film, so for me, I was just there as a fan. Fala and I went, and we kind of just went to rep Siren, and it's all a part of the Disney family. And but even then, at first, it was really overwhelming because the second I stepped in there was like Perez Hilton was next to me. Asian Hollywood was there. Jet Li was standing next to me, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Ip Man himself, Donnie Yen. It was nuts. I was sitting next to them in the theater. And so it was super surreal. But I guess for me, because I had the previous experiences and the training, if you will, I got to just sit back and just completely enjoy it without much stress or anxiety. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can imagine like it would take a while, like it would take a couple goes at it to really shake the nerves, especially if you're sitting next to like these people that you've grown up watching and admiring. It's so funny because I was listening to a podcast and I think it was like Richard Madden talking about when he won his I forgot which, it was like he won an award for The Bodyguard.
Yep.
And he was sitting at the table with Julianne Moore. And the whole time he's sitting there, all he could think about was the fact that he was sitting next to Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
And when they called his name, he was like, "Oh no, it can't be me." And then she was like, "I think it's you." He's like, "No." And she's like, "Go." And he's like, "Julianne Moore just told me that I won an award and she's telling me to go."
Yeah. It's weird how it's weird how quickly you have to sort of adapt to that, and how quickly that can be normalized too, because you realize and you learn very quickly that they're just people.
They are. And when we're working, they could well be your coworkers.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. I mean, I've had the privilege of working with people that I've looked up to in my career, and it's so surreal because it's like, dude, I literally grew up idolizing you. Like, I would pop in the VHS to watch you every day before I go to bed.
Oh
Like
God.
that type of craziness. Huh?
Working with like you watched growing up.
Pardon me?
Did you have that experience working with someone that you used to watch growing up?
I have, yeah. The two off the top of my head. Well, do you know who Lachlan Monroe is?
Yes.
Wait, that name rings a bell.
Well, I got to work with him too. And all I could think about was his part in White Chicks.
No, so okay.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah. Now I know.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with names. I need like a visual.
He plays Archie's dad in Riverdale.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, he's for all intents and purposes, he's a journeyman actor. I mean, he's been around forever. You look him up, he's got over 120 credits or something like that. On his resume. But for me, growing up, I watched Night of the Roxbury like a shit. It was one of those movies, like, I would never admit that it's one of my favorite movies, but it's one of those movies that I can watch anytime, any place, and it's one of those ones that I know line for line. So growing up, I watched him a lot, and he was Craig in Night of the Roxbury, and like, he's hilarious in it. And so when I worked with him for the first time, it was I bumped into him in the catering at Crafty, and there was a chocolate bar that said it was Big Time. And there's a line from Night of the Roxbury where he's trying to thank his friend, and he's like, "I owe you big time." And he busts out. So it's all about like, he's a bodybuilder and a trainer, right? Yeah. So he's very just like very bro like, all about his protein shakes and how many reps he got in that day. Anyways, he busts out a protein bar that says, "I owe you big time." And so I went up to him at Crafty and I went, "Lachlan, I just have to say, I am a big time fan of yours." And he was like, Ah, yes, the good old big time.
That
Mhm.
was made. That was made for you. That was like set up for you.
It was way funnier to me in my own head than it was in real life.
He
No,
was just like, yeah, okay.
yeah. Um, and I got to work with Charlie Sheen's dad,
Yeah.
Mark
No,
Mark
Martin.
Sheen.
Yeah.
How his name flew past me, I have no idea. But yeah, so I got to work with him, which was pretty legendary. Um, and there's been a few more, but I can't think of it right now. But I mean, it's been yeah. And so again, so pulling back, it's like it's so surreal, and then you kind of see behind the scenes that they're just real people, and that this is just a part of
Yeah.
the job, and that
Yeah.
they just want to get this over with so they can go to In-N-Out or to Wendy's after,
Yeah.
get out of their skimpies and just enjoy a regular life. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
So this is all fairly new to you. I mean, I have to show you this. So you are so cute, by the way, Megan. I saw an interview of yours
Oh
from
God.
back in 2015. First of all, you
Oh
sound like
God.
a completely different person.
Oh God. Yeah.
God, you were
Okay. Which
so cute. I'm not gonna pull up the interview, don't you
I'm
worry.
like I'm blushing.
But
Okay. I don't, which
it reminded me of the first time we met, which was kind of at a premiere, but not really. It was for our
oh
Siren
yeah.
sort of release, right?
Yeah, that Siren release party was it a release party? I just remember it was super cool. Yeah, that's us.
Oh,
Look how long my hair is. Wow.
what's so long? It was so long. You
Yeah, it was
like
much longer.
last night. It was just like it was so different. You were a different person.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my God, that feels so long ago. But that was a really fun night. That was like
It was
I
super.
remember they had that like they actually had a mermaid like swimming in this big tank. That was so cool. And like all the different like little Instagram places that you could go and pretend you were swimming or you were with
That's so.
coral. That was a great night.
You showed up there though, and you kind of stole the show. Everybody, I remember it was like, who is that? What?
Oh, well,
Where's
thank you.
she from? What's she repping? Is she an agent? Is she like a
Badass number
producer?
on it.
And then you had this accent, and it was like, what planet are you from? Like,
Yeah,
from
my accent's definitely a question I get asked like all the time because it does change. I don't know, Phoebe, if you've ever heard me speaking to Nathan, who's a South African friend of mine who's just moved here, my accent changes when I'm around him and his wife. And like if it's just us, it's like super strong. And then there's like if Phoebe's there and Nathan's there, I'm like my accent's kind of in the middle.
totally.
Yeah.
And I think also with like press at the moment, when I get nervous, it's like performance mode. So it's like American.
It's
It's like,
American.
yeah, it's so
I
funny.
remember
So
when I first met you. How many years ago was that? Like
2 years?
2?
2, I think. Yeah.
It must have been 2, yeah.
I remember at that point there would be times where you would go between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we were in class, we met in class, and when you were talking to Deb and she was giving you feedback and you were commenting on stuff, you would go to your your own accent, and then as
Yeah.
soon as you stepped into character, you were like American.
Yeah. It's strange. And sometimes I'm like conscious of it and I'm like, oh, I feel like maybe I should just stay in my natural, but now it's like hard. It almost happens without me thinking. Like
Mhm.
I've definitely like maybe if I've had to do like a video recording or I did a language test for my PR application, so I had to do like speaking, writing, listening, whatever, reading. And for the speaking one, the first question was something like describe your best friend, and my best friend is South African. So I thought of her and then opened my mouth and got such a fright because I was like, oh, South African accent, because I'd been like in a more kind of Americanized accent for like a while. So sometimes it happens without me even thinking about it. My brain just says like, this is how you're going to sound today. It's strange.
Honestly,
I don't know.
just embrace it. It's honestly it's cooler to have that bit of mystery. Like I watched an interview with Damian Lewis recently, and his British accent, or is he British? Yeah, he's British. Uh, is so thin, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
because he's been in America for so long, or he splits his time so
Yeah.
much, or he does, you know, his American accent so much that it's still there, but it's not. Like if I told you he was British, you'd be like, ah. But if I didn't
Yeah.
tell you, you'd be like, this
Yeah.
American guy's got an interesting American accent, and he's
Yeah.
about it. But yeah, no, I mean it's code switching, right? I mean, if you weren't
Yeah.
here, if it was just me and Phoebe, we'd be like, "Why, Dilo? Dilo?"
Straight Cantonese. We wouldn't even be speaking English.
It'd be Chinglish. Just
I actually heard Phoebe speaking. You were speaking Cantonese, right? I think you must have been on the phone to your dad, and you were in the car. And I'd never heard you speak Cantonese before, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "So cool."
well, here's an interesting thing. I don't know if it pertains to accents, but I know when it comes to languages, I feel like I take on different personalities when I speak different languages.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I would say that's true for accents as well.
Yeah.
Because
So
yeah,
American
I
for you
often
is very much the stage, Megan.
yeah, I think like I have now done it long enough that I can kind of find the different personalities within it. But I do think that when I'm, you know, if I'm doing a tape or an audition or something and I'm putting together a character and like depending on where they're from or it does change the way I sound and like my energy and definitely like learning accents for new characters. Like I did a British accent on a show called Black Sails and it did affect how I held myself. Like she came from a really affluent family and very like
Right.
well bred, I guess. And so it was quite a posh accent. So it really affected how I carried myself. And then
Cool.
doing other shows with a British accent, it was like changing it into something a bit more relaxed and my physicality changed. So it definitely makes sense, I think.
Yeah, or like where from your mouth you speak from. Like I find that when I put on, let's say, a British accent, it comes from like deeper in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really describe it, but like it changes how you, all like physicality too. It changes how you like hold yourself.
How's
Definitely.
your BA? Is your British pretty good?
Who, me or Phoebe?
Meg.
Well, you can answer too, but it was to Phoebe.
My British is, I think it needs, like the thing is I grew up around it and I kind of like I had one growing up because I went to
Right.
British.
And actually, so that's a great point because I always thought that I had a pretty good British accent.
Yeah.
I came to London and I realized that it's just absolute shit. But you know, my friends and I, we used to just put on the accent for fun. Like if you caught us out and about, we would actually, especially after Top Boy came out, season 1, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when we first saw it, like we would talk to each other in the thick BA. We'd be like, "Yo, how on, bro? Like, you got the food, bro?
You got the food.
Or, you got the food, bro? You get me?" But I always attributed what I thought was a decent British accent to the Hong Kong sort of Chinese accent. It's very similar. I mean, you went to international school, so you grew up around it, but like, is it not also similar though? Like, for instance, like, okay, British, right? Like I say, a thick British. So, you know, the thing about that is, you know, like Chinese accent. The thing about that is, you need to go down to the store and then give him the money.
Give him the money.
Oh, you're right.
But it's so much harder. Like because it pulls in all the tones, like all the tones from speaking from Cantonese, and Cantonese is such a like hard language. Like in terms of tones, like it's just so blunt. So it doesn't sound great. Like I do think that like from someone like for someone who doesn't know what I'm saying, just hearing the sound of Cantonese, it sounds so bad. Like it doesn't sound elegant. Whereas like with Mandarin, it's very, you know, I don't know. My Mandarin's terrible. So it sounds like that. sure. But Cantonese sounds really blunt. So I guess that's the difference. But the thing is, because the like there's so much British influence in Hong Kong,
Mm.
English that everybody's learned there is British English.
Right.
So they learn all
Yeah.
the tones, they learn all like the accents, the certain like the pronunciations and the like the cadences. It all comes from that part of English.
I
Like
think-
no much of an American English.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because Phoebe, did you go to an IB school, or you went to a British school, right? And did IB?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to international schools too, because I grew up in a couple of different countries. And like the last one, when I was in high school, like our most dominant accent was American. So I sounded really American in high school. So it's interesting that like you sounded more British in high school. Is that right?
That's the thing, is like it definitely like evolved the older we
Yeah.
got, is the
Yeah.
more influence came. Like, you know, we started watching more American TV,
Okay.
a lot of American movies, whereas before it was like our main exposure to the language and the culture. I mean, as kids, you know, yeah, you watch TV, but it's all limited, and how much media you're exposed to is limited. So your main source is your teachers, and all our teachers were British.
Mm.
Yeah.
But then obviously as we went on, like we would start, you know, watching our own stuff, and then start pulling the accents from this. So my accent's purely learned, like it's purely from television or like movies. I guess like back in high school, like as we grew older, I think the American accent was more desirable. I remember one summer consciously being like, you don't say can't, it's can't. And I would like consciously tell myself to say can't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
But this
Okay.
maybe when I was probably 12 or 13, like trying to sound cooler.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when, so I went to South Africa after high school, definitely like lost all the American and sounded very much South African. But when I started going over to LA, I was encouraged to go into the room and stay in an American accent to make sure. That was kind of like the message I was given of like, you want to make sure they know that you can do a really good American accent. And you kind of felt like American television dominates.
Right.
Everyone is watching American shows wherever they are in the world, whether they're dubbed or not dubbed or whatever, but they are American shows. Hollywood dominates the industry. So going in, it was, definitely put to me to go in, speak like an American, make them like question, make sure they know that you can do a good accent because you will be cast as an American, like an American character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like train myself to practice it all the time, which it's interesting because now, like maybe 5 years later, people want South African accents, and like they want you to sound different, and they want like that kind of diversity in how people sound as well as look, you know. And now I can't do it on demand. Like I forget, like it's like a crutch to hold on to my American. So now I've got to practice doing South African. But
So do you consciously walk in there with so fast forward to present day, if you were to go into a room right now, do you default to the American, or do you try to lead with more of your South African?
I probably default to the American. I think it's now like I'm almost thinking about kind of dialing it back a bit now, consciously thinking, you know, I don't want to not, I don't know. It's like, it's a weird thing. Like, I don't want to kind of forget about South Africa. I worry that people will think that I've just jumped ship and like, you know, and South Africa was such an important start to my career. That's where my career was born. So it's like weird. I'm like, oh no, I actually want to hold on to it because I want people to know that I'm not American. I'm South African. Like I've come here from South Africa to pursue this career. But so yeah, it's kind of weird. But I do think, especially when I get nervous, and I do get nervous, I default into what makes me feel comfortable. And like we said before, it's like my performance voice. If the character or the show that I was going in for was British, I'd probably go in British and like I would use that, but it's still not how I sound. You know, it's still performance. Yeah, weird. It's our identity, like how we sound. Like I'm starting to realize that more and more.
I kind of envy, but don't. I guess like I just wonder what it'd be like growing up now with, you know, like you were saying, how back then everything was so Americanized and that was just like the ideal and everybody wanted to be American or default to American. So you changed your accent, you know, you tried to like you tried to like abandon that South African accent. Now you can't even like put it on for like a, you know, an audition or something, or a part. And I, like, similarly, I did the same thing. And so I wonder what it'd be like growing up now where, you know, that's like diversity is welcomed and it's embraced and they love that. You know? Like, people love a British accent. And I'm like, well, damn it. Like, I can't make it sound super natural like I've had it my whole life now because like I've worked so hard to get rid of it.
I mean, you will be anyways, but you'd be really giving Gemma Chan a run for her money.
I know, and she's so gorgeous.
You would.
So beautiful. Like, I just want to listen to her talk all day.
See, it's a class thing too, right? Like, I think Cantonese can be elegant. It's a class thing, like Megan said earlier too. Like,
true.
But she definitely, has all the best in every category, in
everything
injected into one person.
Yeah,
I can relate to that, but just like from in like not career wise, but like in real life, where I suppressed my Chinese origins so hard growing up in Chinatown and then Richmond and all that, and then the East Van. But then I went to school on the West Side, and I moved there for a little while. So this high school, most of elementary and high school was predominantly, you know, white kids, and I was pretty embarrassed about my culture. So I stopped speaking Cantonese altogether. I ran as far away from it as possible. And then same thing, like now it's like, I wish that I could speak better than I can, you know?
It's just like actually, to that point, the culture thing too, it's like on top of the language, it's like when we were kids, nobody was proudly like, yeah, I'm from Hong Kong, or like, even for me when I was going to school, I remember being in like grade 5 and being like, I'm Canadian, I'm not just I'm not just Chinese, I'm Canadian. And I was saying this being like a kid in school in Hong Kong, and it was like I was still trying to show that I wasn't just Chinese. Like I just be like, yeah, I'm from here, and raised here. I had to be like, I'm different. I am Canadian, and like, you know, we live there too, and yeah.
Was that to appeal sort of your white counterparts, or?
I don't know. I think it was just like a.
Or just to separate yourself from.
Just to maybe like separate myself, or be like, I'm more Americanized.
Huh.
Yeah, it was so weird. And and then being here, coming here as a kid, like making friends. I remember the Chinese kids would be like, oh, you go to Chinese school? I don't speak any Chinese. And I'm like, and now I'm thinking back, I'm like, why are you proud of that?
But why would you be proud of that? I mean, like, to speak.
Well, I think that's how important representation is, because for me, all the cool people that I saw, all the cool kids in the school, they were all not Asian. And any type of Asian, right?
Yeah.
It was mostly white kids. It was, you know, black people at the time were blowing up in the 90s in terms of like the mainstream, like through hip hop and through sports and through, right?
Yeah.
And so you wanted to be like them. And so there was just nothing, there was no one over here in North America anyways, no one to really look up to aspire to be like, to say, oh, hey, like I can do that too, because look, they look like me, or I look like them.
Yeah. And I think that's changing a lot now, which is really cool. So
now it's really different. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like what I'd be like. Maybe it'd be a lot cooler to grow up now.
Not possible. Not
Phoebe,
possible.
you're so cool already. I don't know if I could handle you being any cooler.
Yeah, we got to talk about you. So like, so I watched Upload. I binged that
Oh my
pretty quick, and yeah, midway through, guess who popped up onto our screen? The
Hello?
one and only.
In the door, right?
And that was so dope.
It
What
was
that?
so much.
What was that experience like?
It was so much fun. But also just like meeting Greg Daniels.
Mm.
Such a huge fan of The Office. And like the whole time I just had The Office in my head when I was like all the choices I made, like approaching the character. I was like, okay, I just think The Office. It's funny. And like it's so hard to shake that. And I'm sure he hates that because he's obviously trying to do other things.
Yeah.
But like I've just been such a long time admirer of his work. And I remember like going to set and not expecting to see him in person. Like, you know, usually they'll like drop in throughout. And one of the days I was there, he showed up and he was like, "Are you Phoebe?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm Greg." And I was like, "I know."
Did you get starstruck? Like, did you get like you can
A
speak
little
kind
bit.
of starstruck? Okay.
And that was one of the few moments where I actually let it like, I don't know, maybe it did show because sometimes I just try to play it cool even though I'm like losing my shit inside.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it was really cool to because I knew like having him there and being able to work with him and having him like be behind the camera and give notes, that was like have that be a part of the process was just so cool. Because he was the one who created it, so it's his vision, and him being able to be there and like assist and give notes, like that was great.
That's
And
awesome.
I mean, I didn't spend that much time on that set, so I wish I didn't, you know, fingers crossed for whatever comes up next, because like they've picked up season 2, so that's really cool. But the time that I had there was great. Like I'm super grateful for it. And Curtis, I don't know if I ever told you, like I don't know if I ever, because we were talking about, well, you got to meet my dad, and like my dad was the one who helped me tape for this thing. And I didn't even expect I would book it because I was in Hong Kong. I like got the tape an hour before it was due because of the time difference and everything, and I had just gotten off the plane.
Oh shit.
And it was maybe 7 a.m. I had just gotten home from the airport, and I got this email, and I was like, shit, it's due like in an hour or two. So I was like, I gotta pull whatever I can together, put some makeup on. And I woke my dad up, and I was like, hey, can you just stand here? I didn't have a tripod. And he was like, you know what, I can hold it. And I was like, no, we can pile up shoe boxes or whatever. He's like, no, I'll hold it. And I was like, okay.
Oh God.
He's just so confident in his camera skills.
Her dad is so cool, by the way.
I haven't met him, but I've just seen like so many photos, and like like when you were doing all the photos of him taking pictures of cherry blossoms, and you're like, another day of cherry blossom photography with my dad. It was so funny.
Was entire quarantine with my dad. I was so lucky because I haven't spent this much time with my dad since I was like 4 years old probably, and we were stuck together in this house, and we would go for walks every day, and literally like we couldn't walk very far because every time we'd pass a cherry blossom tree, he'd be like.
It's funny because we're talking about being starstruck. Like you probably rolled your eyes at him nonstop, but if I was there, I'd just be like, "Yeah, let's stop and take that."
Cherry blossom.
You're awesome, Michael. I love you.
Oh my God.
So sorry. So okay. So your dad taped.
So he insisted. He was so confident, and so I called my friend up on FaceTime, and I got her to read for me while he was shooting it. And such guerrilla style. I was like, there's no way, but I'm just gonna throw it together. And at the end of the thing, I did maybe like 1 or 2 takes, and then I was like, hey, what do you think? Do we have to do it again? Because I felt pretty good about that. And my dad was like, no, actually, no, I thought it was great. And I was like, really? You think so? And he was like,
yeah, I mean, like that. I just think the camera was so still, and I didn't move at all, and it was just like I love the framing, and I was like, so that's all you. It's just all you. I forgot that this was about you, Dad. So he takes credit for like me getting that part because he just did a great.
That's how it always works.
It's how it works.
Hey, and I've been on the other end of recording people and stuff too, and so I always take the credit, you know, as well. So I get it, but
Yeah.
I do think though that it is. I mean, what the hell do I know? But maybe because I'm superstitious or whatever. But I'd like to think that there is some sort of how can I put it? Casting your readers, I think, makes all the difference, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, the energy that you're encapsulating into a thing, right? Yeah. I personally believe that having like an on-sex reader for the character makes all the difference. And then also the dynamic or the relationship that you have to the reader in real life, whether it's your friend or your dad or whatever, if you can use that in the scene, it's like a shorthand that allows you to just squeeze out that energy that is needed. You know what I mean?
I love with both of you, actually. I don't know if you have ever said this, but Meg, I love like of the maybe like once or twice that we've taped anything together. Like we've worked together, and I love working with you.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way.
I'm choked I've never got to work with you, Meg.
I know. One day we have to do it.
I don't know how true this is, but in my mind, as far as how I remembered it, from this night, that right?
Yeah.
We were having a conversation about sort of you in LA and this and that, and I was wanting to move down to LA at the time. And you're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Vancouver. And you're like, Vancouver.
Yeah.
You're like, interesting. I've heard about this in Vancouver. And I kind of remember selling you really hard on Vancouver.
You did. You sold me very hard.
Was I kind of the camel? Was I the straw that broke LA's back? And
I think, well, I was already on the move to go there, but you definitely because to be honest, when I decided to move to Vancouver, it was very much like, okay, it's really hard to get a visa for the States, but okay, Canada, Vancouver's super close. I'll just get a visa for there. And then I got it and I was like, okay, great, I'm moving to Canada. And then never really thought about it again. And then didn't really think it would happen. I kind of just, I don't know. I just didn't think about it. And then when I met you and you were talking Vancouver up, then I was like, okay, actually, maybe I do need to think about this. Maybe this isn't just like, like, oh, I'll be closer to LA. There's a really big industry in Vancouver. And I wasn't really aware of that. And when I got here and I saw what was shooting here and I saw like the community here, it's incredible. And
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. So I'm so happy
me,
here.
I went the other way. I went against all of my advice to you.
It's interesting what you were saying about the readers. I totally agree. That makes such a difference. It upsets my soul when you go to a casting. I haven't found it in Vancouver as much. Like maybe once or twice. It's been very rare, but in LA, a lot. The reader sucks.
They don't give you anything.
They give you nothing. Sometimes you'll have the casting director, like I've had the casting director read with me, which like is sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's like okay, because they're like watching you and reading, and so like you feel like they're not focused on you. Right. But I've definitely had auditions where the reader just gives you nothing to work with, and you're like pouring it out and like you're working so hard. That's always and tough. You can and then there is this mentality. I remember a casting director, I did like a workshop with her, and her thinking was, you should be able to give the best performance with like a wall. Like it shouldn't make a difference. And I I kind of hated that, because the thing I love about film and acting is the relationship, is the collaboration, is the energy. And then if you have a great reader who's kind of giving you something,
Right.
then you can like play with that, and like you're showing your skills of like listening and interacting, not here are the lines. Yeah, I get really mad when that
watching the
happens.
tape too, like it has to, if you're just listening, I mean, obviously they're going to be watching you, right? But sonically, the information that's going in there, it has to sort of add up. So if something
Yeah.
stands out, like you don't want to give whoever it is, the casting, producers, directors, whatever, you don't want to give them any opportunity to sort of look away or be uninterested, right? The reason I brought that up earlier was because I think all of my, like, the biggest shows that I've ever booked off of tape or like leading to callbacks or whatever have always been the tapes that I've had to get creative with it or didn't give a shit about, or like you said, scrambling, yeah, guerrilla style in your trailer or you know what I mean, like
At home from set, you're like, you've been awake for 22 hours.
right.
Yeah.
So you kind of just somehow just cut through all the bullshit and you just go straight to, okay, what's needed here, and then you can kind of just, I don't know, find a more direct plug to who you are and connect with the character, maybe.
Abandon any kind of extra anxieties or stress, like, or nerves, because you're so on the go that it's almost like you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
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 It's like, oh, fuck it. And
Right.
and then that's when the good stuff comes out, because you're literally just acting on impulse,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like in real life, really.
Yeah. I overthink sometimes, and I'm like, I just need to trust that I know what I'm doing, or
Right.
that, like, we've been acting for like how many years, and like, that like you can do it, but then sometimes you doubt yourself, and then that's when you slip up, and that's when you don't
Yeah.
do stuff.
But with that said, I mean, I haven't known the both of you for very long, but it's been at least a couple of years.
I thought you guys knew each other for like ever.
It feels like we've known each other for forever. I was
How
just
long have
talking
you known each other?
I feel like
That's what you get when you get a soul sister or brother.
Yeah, like, I feel like he's my brother, but like we've known of each other for a
Probably
while.
like we didn't. I mean, we connected, and then we didn't really hang out till
Aw, cuties.
here.
Yeah.
This was an epic night that Phoebe was kind enough to come support us at the Vancouver Short Film Festival for my short film Grandma's 80th Surprise. That's Meganne as well. She's a wonderfully talented up and coming costume designer. That night was so epic, and it meant so much to me because we hadn't really put in the time, as far as like friends, right?
Yeah.
But you came out to support, and then we went to the after party, and you kind of stuck it out, and you were just really there as a sister for me, and I really appreciated that.
I didn't even think twice about that. That was a fun night, and also I think you were leaving soon.
I was leaving like the next week or something like that.
Yeah.
But those sort of things mean a lot to me, and with you, Meg, like every time we sort of cross paths, I find that we always have really cool sort of like real and like semi-deep conversations amidst whatever's going on,
Yeah, I'm not very good at chit chat. I like a conversation. I like to talk about things.
Yeah,
not good at like
so
keeping
what
it
are your
casual.
thoughts
But
on
yeah.
1619 when the it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
But
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, it is cool because we've been crossing paths. It's because of SIBO. We're doing Siren. She kind of invited me in, and yeah, you and I have definitely stayed in touch, and that's been like, even just on social media, it's been so nice to see how supportive all of us try to be with one another in this crazy industry. It's just
Right.
nice to see that support from your peers.
Right.
I almost like value like the feedback from my peers the most, and like the encouragement from my peers the most, because you guys know what it's like. So yeah, it's been really nice to like cross paths with you at different points, and like
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you're right. I mean, mostly it's within social media that we get to stay in touch these days. But like,
yeah
what's been really cool is that even in the short amount of time that I've known the both of you, like, I've become such fans of you guys. I've become such a fan of you guys, career-wise, but as friends. But seeing your guys' growth in the last couple of years, like, I mean, Phoebe, when you first joined the class, not that you
Oh,
suck by any, no, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like, I'm just saying that even within 3-4 years, which isn't a lot of time if you think about it, right? Like, I think my metric system is, put 10 years in the game, then you really start seeing, you finally get to go, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
yeah
So 3-4 years is like nothing in the grand scheme of things, but I mean, you're like there and there. And
yeah,
this was already good.
yeah, that was garbage. Now that's how I say it.
no
I'm like,
Oh man.
it was garbage, but now I'm much less garbage. But yeah, it's crazy to see it, and it's I'm really grateful for this community that
Yeah.
we have, like whether or not it's within Deb's class or like just within the Vancouver community here. Like, everybody's really supportive, and I think that's been vital to our individual growth.
Yeah.
yeah
And it's cool because when you book something, it's like, it feels like a win for everybody, because
yeah
Mm-hmm.
we're not directly competing. We're not competing against each other. We're not, it's
Right.
we want everybody to succeed.
It truly is one of those, like, it's like one of those, what's that phrase? A high tide raises all ships, or something
Yeah.
like that.
oh, I've
So,
never heard that, but I like it.
I don't even know if that's right, but it made sense in my head. But well, I mean, I talk about this a lot, especially with fellow Asian actors and all of that. But we always talk about how we really need to support one another,
Yeah
because a win for a contemporary of mine is, in a way, a win for me, right? And I think that is an attribute to Deb's class. So anyone who's watching, the three of us have the same acting teacher, coach, mentor, Deb Podolsky. Shout outs to her. You see a lot of it in that class. Everyone's very, very, very supportive of one another. It's kind of like, it's the closest thing that I can think of to, like, I don't know, it's the same dynamic as when you work at a place and you become really good friends with the people you work with, or the people you go to high school with, or whatever. But it's not superficial. Everyone there genuinely is supportive of one another. And I don't know if you've been there long enough, Megan, but there was a point maybe about 4 or 5 years ago where everyone started booking slowly. And then that slowly became, more recurring roles. And then that slowly became, more guest stars, and then leads, and then it trickled down. Everyone started working. And so now it's like, it's not, there's less of that clawing to be the one person, or clawing for affection or attention. And that's kind of what we needed in the Asian community. I don't know for you, Phoebes, but like, especially for us guys, there, for a long time, there could only be one, and we all wanted to be the first.
Yeah.
And I think it was a realization that there just wasn't enough opportunities for us. So so that was the product of that. That's how it manifested into sort of jealousy and not backstabbing, but a lot of insecurities within ourselves. But once we all started working, now finally it's like I have another chat with two guys that I love, Osric Chow and Chris Pang, on Wednesday, and And I'm genuinely happy for those guys when I see them win.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't know if you get like the same feeling, but like I think the reason why I felt like akin to you and like I very quickly just like assumed the role of like feeling like your sister is because I looked up to you, and like the guys that came, like the guys that are a little bit older that kind of led this wave of young 20 something Asian actors that are like booking in these, you know, bigger recurring or series regular roles,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of shifting the dynamics of our industry. Like I just see them as like the change makers, the people that like opened the way
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, like slightly younger people like me, and it was inspiring.
Yeah.
For
It's
sure.
I
almost
also, you know, kind of just listening to you guys talk and a little bit about your experiences, I think something that like the three of us have in common is that we've experienced being like the outsiders
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like looking in at something. I definitely felt that like as an expat kid, and like especially going back to South Africa, you know, there wasn't really an expat community where I was, and when I went to college, I always felt like a little bit on the outside, a little bit different. I sounded a little different, and you guys seem to have experienced that too. But I think that's how we kind of, like with you two especially, I've noticed you're very good at being inclusive, because I think you know what it feels like to be on the outside. So you're like there welcoming and you want to support, and like if you see somebody winning, you want to be there cheering them on. And this industry is already so hard enough. It's, you know, it's so many people. I get so many messages now, especially um, from like teenagers wanting to be actors and wanting advice. And there's like, I never quite know what to say, because I don't think people really understand how difficult it is until you're in it. And then when you are in it, it's so important to have these kind of relationships, because it can be very lonely otherwise.
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
interesting.
Curtis, I feel like you're going to say something.
Oh yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask, so you said that you moved back to South Africa. So where did you move back from?
Oh yeah, so I was born in South Africa, but when I was 4, I moved to Nigeria, and then I lived in Nigeria, Switzerland. I went back to South Africa for like 2 years, and then I went to Sri Lanka and graduated high school from there. And then went back to Cape Town, and then went to college, and then started my career, and then moved here. Blah, blah,
Wow.
blah, 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 in a nutshell.
It's like
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so that what you guys are kind of talking about, like I can relate in some way. Just that's what kind of came to my mind, of being
Right.
on the outside and like trying to get in and feeling excluded, and
Right.
you know, yeah, I think we can all like learn from that. And with the industry moving to be more inclusive, and it's so important for us to like all collectively want that and be supportive of that. And we
Yeah.
will all benefit from it. Nothing is being taken away. Like we will all benefit from everyone being included.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe in that 100%. I am a firm believer in that the energy you put out is the energy that you're going to get back on some level. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the roles that you don't get, I think often, not all the time maybe, but often you see who is cast and you're like, oh yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And then your role is just right around the corner. You know what I mean? And then someone might say that about you, and you know what I mean? It's just kind of this interesting circle of not life, but instances that happen. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's so many levels to this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about earlier being starstruck. You know, for you it was Greg, Phoebe, right?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe being insecure or being in your head about being starstruck or whatever. But then there's someone out there right now in your city that feels the same way about you, and they see you, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh God, who knows?
Yeah.
oh, there is, absolutely. And same with you, Meg.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, perspective comes into play a lot too, and it only comes from, I think in Vancouver specifically. Sorry, I'm on a tangent here, but because there's been so much work being funneled into that city, there's been a lot less pressure of everyone at each other's throats, you know,
Mhm.
dueling it out for the respect or for the roles or for whatever. And there seems to be more of a community now where people do genuinely support one another, which is really, really cool.
I can't describe I can't describe how good it feels when people around you that you like really care about, like when there sometimes we hit these waves in our, you know, little community where somehow everybody's working, and it's like this energy it's this magical energy where everybody's feeding off each
Yeah.
other, and it breeds like success, but also just like positivity and motivation to
Right.
work
Mhm.
artistic like creation. And um I can't describe how good that feels. It feels so good. Like it feels better than just like doing something on your own. Like
Right.
yes, a
Yeah.
one-off, you might get like a one-off booking on something, and then but like when you're on set and then your best friend's on set and you're bored and you FaceTime someone and they're also in their trailer, it's like it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're all building each other up and working towards something. You're making little steps, like you're taking little steps along the way.
Yeah. It's a journey
Yeah.
that you get to share, and it's a much more conducive form of inspiration rather than, you know, like when I
Yeah.
first started, for me, my goals in terms of like who I wanted to, you know, be like, it came from a very shallow, insecure place where I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat this guy, or I'm gonna, oh, this guy, I'm gonna, you know. Whereas now
Yeah.
it's like, it's almost like from another fellow actor, come on, man, you got this. Let's do this. You got this. You can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's
Like I get that there are a lot of things we can't control. You know, we can only just do our very best, walk out of there and be like, I did
Yeah.
what I have to do, and then you gotta throw it all away because, and like the the competitiveness doesn't fuel the the fact that we are all like individually unique. Because when you get competitive with a fellow actor who might go out for the same stuff as you, it's almost like saying, okay, well, we're both the same, why wouldn't you cast me? But you're not the same. Like you have,
No.
each of us individually have such completely different essences,
mm-hmm.
Mm.
and like we should constantly remind ourselves of that, because when you lose a role to someone, it's because there's no way, like if they wanted to go with that person, there's no way they would go with you then, just because,
Yeah.
like, yes, maybe we're like, even if it was like with another Asian actor, it's like, yeah, sure, we're both Asian, but like we're so completely different in personality and like what you bring to the character.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're looking for that take on it, then it means they're
Yeah.
not for you. And um like it's important to constantly remind ourselves of that, because it it reminds us that we're all individually special, and like it doesn't take away from your like your ability and your capability, your talent.
Yeah, I had to learn that, because when I started my career, I remember it can be a little bit difficult because you walk into a room and, like, you know, in my case, it's like everyone is pale with brown hair, and
Yeah.
like, and then you assume like, okay, we're all the same.
Mhm.
And I remember there was one particular actress, actually we're like great friends now, but when I started my career, I saw her in the room all the time and she booked everything all the time. And I always thought, oh, she's better than me, or she's prettier than me. And it took me, like, my kind of like confidence and how I saw myself, it took me a while to learn, like, oh no, I have a different energy. Like, she is a completely different personality to me, and we do look different because our personalities are different. And it doesn't make me less than. It just, she probably was going in with confidence, to be honest. Like, she probably was more confident than me. I was really bad at auditions at the beginning. I was terrible. I actually I remember doing an audition, and like the casting director actually said to me, "You need to blink, because like it's very weird what you're doing right now. You're not blinking." And I was like, "Oh my God," because I was like, line, line,
Oh,
line.
no.
I was so
Wow.
scared. So that's probably why I didn't book anything in the first like couple of years, because I was so terrified. But I was convinced, like, oh, I'm not pretty enough and I'm not good enough, and that's why that girl is better than me. She's my competition. Like, I need to like get better than her, and then I'll beat her, and then I'll get the role. And funnily enough, she was actually the one that helped me change that, because eventually we went in for a role and I booked it, and she reached out to me and congratulated me, and I was like,
Aw.
oh, people can be nice and supportive, and it's okay. Like, we're just different. And now and then because of that role, I could kind of see the differences with us. And I was like, yeah, I do make sense in this role. I can see why they picked me.
Mhm.
And that was really empowering. But I definitely had to learn that lesson.
It's just
And
such
I
a,
had to learn how to audition better too,
and blink once in a while.
and blink.
It's just a healthier state to be in, or to a place to work from. I used to, my ego, I used to like want everything. Like it could have been like literally if I was taking the SkyTrain and I saw like a public service announcement like on the bus or SkyTrain and there was an Asian person in it, immediately I'd go, what? Why? That could have been me. Why didn't I go for that? I'd call my agent like, what the? And now I'm like, now I genuinely, it happened yesterday. I was on the tube and I saw an ad with an Asian guy and I went, yeah. You know, it's just such a much more positive, yeah. It probably, you know, it lends itself to a longer life. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But speaking of life, I know that you're kind of pressed for time. So I wanted to ask one quick thing. So obviously, you know, in the past 6 months, a lot of things have happened. A lot of things are completely changed and are changing still. And I'm curious to know what you two have been doing, or is there like a new outlook that you now have as far as approaching your work, or like what still gets you excited moving forward?
Phoebe's like, ooh, okay. Lots of thoughts, I imagine, in your head. That's what I see when Phoebe goes, ooh,
You know what?
like lots of thoughts.
Maybe an easier question. What besides acting? What gets you excited? What are you passionate about? Phoebe, I know you're a wicked photographer. You're a beast behind the camera. I mean, I don't know if you've been doing that much, but
Definitely been trying to. I've been trying to find my way back into it. Like, it's one of those things that I've decided to just like keep as like an artistic like an outlet.
yeah.
Just because before I was doing it, I was doing it for work, and I was doing it commercially, and like it took away the love that I had for it.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to find inspiration during this time as to like how I wanted to like keep doing it. And that's why we were talking about doing a shoot sometime soon.
Yeah.
Your last one was awesome.
Oh yeah, I love those photos that we did. They're great. They're my favorite, actually.
Phoebe, is it Phoebe Miu Photography?
Phoebe Miu Photography.
Check it out.
Check it out. So I've been trying to find my way back into it. But no, I think like during this time it's been a lot of just reflecting on what matters, because like everything that's happened makes you reevaluate. I mean, not just COVID, but just Black Lives Matter, and it just makes you reevaluate what actually matters and what you stress about every day and how small those things are. Because like whenever I stress about anything now, I'm like, well, 5 years from now, is that gonna change anything? Because if not, then let it go.
Yeah.
And yes, I've always tried to do that, but now, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I don't want to say, but like I'm turning older next year, and like I think
What? I love how you're like, I'm turning older next year. Like, what?
That makes sense.
I'm turning 30 next year, and I'm like, okay, I'm like actually pretty excited about it, because this, like, I was talking to my friend about it yesterday, and I just think that like the quarantine has made me weed out a lot of a lot of bullshit. And just like Curtis, you were saying, like with every public service announcement, we would be like, where was my audition? Like, I used to feel that way about my career. I feel like we were always on edge. We were always in a way waiting by the phone.
Right.
And this time, because the industry completely shut down, it forced us to like find other ways to be creative. So, you know, we started jotting ideas down. We started kind of writing stuff. And I've been obsessed with listening to podcasts and watching old movies and studying and, you know, finding ways to be creative that way. And then I realized how much of my brain I was racking just worrying about like the projects that are going on. Why am I not on this? Why am I not on that? Yeah. So my agent is probably going to love hearing this, but like, I'm not so anxious about it anymore. And if there's something that I didn't get, like if there was a tape that I didn't get that a friend of mine got, right now I don't really care. And like, I think I'm really starting to pick my battles, and that goes with not just film, but just with life and what's worth fighting on and what's not, because you're exerting this energy and like it hurts. It like takes on your heart. So that was something that I took away.
I mean, I definitely relate to everything you just said. For me, so I mean, right before COVID hit, we were kind of like in the beginning of pilot season, if not like the middle. I forget now, where were we? But anyway, and I felt like the energy that I had at the beginning of the year was like, I want to book something, like I've got this energy. I was doing like tapes, I was like learning lines. At one point I was taping like there was one day where I taped like 3 auditions with like 3 scenes each in 1 hour, and then had to go back and redo something. And I was like running. I was like racing towards it. And I was like, I need to book something. There's so much pressure. Like I've got to get this. I have to get this. And then COVID hit and I totally crashed. Like I just shut down. I think I slept in until I go to bed normally quite like around 10 and wake up at 6, but I was like sleeping the days away. There was 1 week where I just like slept for like 10, 12 hours every night. And I didn't want to think about acting.
My body was aching for that.
Yeah. So I just kind of crashed and I kind of hit a wall, and I was like, oh, I've just poured all this energy out, and I really wanted something to happen, and now nothing's going to happen. And I just kind of shut down and didn't want to think about acting. Actually, I kind of just blocked it out. I just wanted to watch movies and sleep, and I ate. I worked out like once a week. But I do think that was actually pretty good for me, because I think for the past like 5 years I've been so focused on acting, like no other hobbies, no other real interests, just focusing on, especially trying to like move from South Africa, always looking to the States. And then once then I was looking at Vancouver, but always still looking at pilot season happening in LA, and trying to get like the next big thing that was going to solidify my future in some way, and putting all my eggs in one basket. So when I was kind of forced to stop, it did drop me into a bit of a dark place at first. And then after that, I kind of just started picking out the things outside of acting that were important to me. I started like reevaluating some of my friendships. I started thinking about, what do I value in life? Compassion and respect are 2 things that I've been thinking a lot about at the beginning of the year. Like, do I really know what those words mean? Do I really treat people with compassion and with respect? And just like, kind of just reevaluating. And now I feel like that has positively impacted my work as well, because I feel a little bit more relaxed. I feel like I don't need to be on this treadmill and get to something by a certain point. I'm just going to enjoy the ride and then have fun on the way. Spend time with friends. I've been writing a bit more. I like to write like poetry and like little short stories. So I did a lot more writing during quarantine. I bought a ukulele, which I have not played. but it's there. I could play it potentially. I could maybe play it. I've like tried a couple of times. But the point is, I'm exploring options.
That is always the first step, isn't it? Buying a ukulele.
Exactly.
Buy the ukulele.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and writing I think was really great, just like discovering my voice, and also like you said, Phoebes, like what is important in life, and especially with like Black Lives Matter,
You're right.
seeing like the messages, hearing what people had to say, and then also looking back in South Africa and wanting to kind of remember where I'm from and what's going on in my home country, and what do I want to do, and having a better idea of like, okay, moving forward, what matters to me, and how am I going to actually affect it and have some kind of change, and what is the career that I want, what are the projects that I want to do, what am I willing to do to get the project that doesn't harm my mental health, things like that. So it's been really good. It was hard at the beginning. I don't want to like not pretend like it wasn't hard. It was, but it's been ultimately very positive.
Don't forget to blink. That's the key takeaway, y'all.
It's so, I don't know, and I've even had that happen to me like on a film set where the director was like, blink, Megan, blink, and I was like, oh my god, what's wrong with me?
Thank
Like,
God. I thought you were gonna say you did that on a date once or something like that, and I was like, no.
Oh no, I've never, no.
Never heard of him again.
Hey guys.
It sounds like
So funny.
I've
No,
had
no,
watched
I just,
on a film set.
you what?
sorry, say that again.
I've had watch your double chin on a film set because I sometimes forget, like,
Oh,
you
that's
don't think about how you look, and then they're
Oh,
like,
you're doing like this.
I love what you did, just in case you were concerned, just had a little double chin for like 40 seconds there. So if you want, we can do it. And I was like, oh.
Who told you that? The director? No, you don't have to say the name. Just, was it the director?
Yeah.
That's a good director.
Oh my god, that's nice. Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're directing, you sometimes you don't, like, I can understand when you don't see these little things. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I spotted it because it was there for like about 45 seconds. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's funny. I do the opposite. Mine was actually camera operators have told me, pull your chin down, because I'll stick my chin out and it's not very attractive. So they'll be like, just pull your chin down, and then I'll go like, okay, but not too far, not this far.
As you get older, I feel like it's easy for it to come. It just comes out.
Yeah.
The skin.
I think for me, I watched
Because you're so old.
I watched too much Night of the Roxbury because my the focus puller came up to me and was like, Kurt, you got to stop moving your damn head.
Oh really?
Like, but just to wrap that section up, it seems like the common denominator seems to be about being more present, going back in, checking in with ourselves. Happiness doesn't necessarily always have to be around the corner. It could be already in front of us, or at least,
yeah, this is it.
Yeah. Success is getting what you want, but happiness is about wanting what you already have. And this time for me has all been about all of that, just exploring the things that are already in my life and in full abundance. And I'm so happy to hear that you guys are both in the space to be able to do that, which is really dope. Do you have?
I appreciate you both so much. Just
and then stuff like this is what it's all about,
What I think also happened during quarantine is it felt like people were being, like a bit more honest about what was happening. There's like a transparency that's kind of come up, and like that's happening in terms of like society, but also just like one-on-one. I feel like people are being more transparent because it was so important to like reach out to people, connect with people, share your stories. So I definitely feel like that's been a big part of it too, that transparency.
It's a good equalizer in that sense. It's like everyone's hurting on some level.
Knowing that everybody's going through the same thing. Like everybody's anxious. Everybody's going through a hard time. So there's no
and everyone's very sort of human right now, or very tapping into a very sort of primal kind of place within ourselves, which is really cool. But what I'd like to end things off with, if you guys are cool with this, is I'd like to, with the two of you guys, somehow
I'm
make.
scared.
I'd like.
What are you gonna say? You're taking so long to say it. Just say it. What do you want me to do?
It's so evil.
No, it's really not evil at all. So what I'd like to do with my guests is I like to come up with something to do that we can all, the three of us right now, can do to make someone's life better.
Okay.
So have you met Johnson, Phoebe? My friend Johnson?
Johnson, no.
Then? So we play this game where, like, whenever we get together, we it's called dinging people, where we try to make someone's day or just try to brighten up someone's day. And then whenever we do, it's like a game we play. It's like a point system. And whenever we do, we just go ding.
Yeah.
And that could manifest in, just like smiling at someone, complimenting someone, buying someone a coffee, but whatever. But with the three of us right now, what can we do to just literally just make someone's day?
One individual person, like
We call someone?
We could, I don't know. Let's brainstorm. Can we? Could we, like? Do you guys know anyone that's, I don't know, got something
going
on the
through a
road,
hard time.
need some support, going through a hard time, or maybe if we could reach out to a fan and just say hello, because it's dark.
Tell me kissing booth fans. Should we just you have like 300,000 new fans. We should just make one.
What? I mean, I always think like surprising people with like a phone call or like a really nice, like thoughtful message is kind of cool. It's like also like sending someone food. That's what I think will make food always makes me happy.
Yes.
Okay, it's
Just think of someone
10:34
who can.
a.m.
Should we? Do we have anybody's address where we could like Uber Eats something or like DoorDash something to their house?
Or we could send Deb flowers because she also opened her studio
We should do that.
and we love her.
I'm with that.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Just because, yes, all three of us, like we owe this whole conversation, like a lot of what we've talked about in this conversation to.
Yeah.
I like that. And she puts out so much for people. She, I actually did a thing on a chat I did last week with Larisa and this girl named Kayla Wallace. And I shouted out, Deb, we did this thing where we chose three people. We chose to like name out three people that have had big impacts in our lives. So if that person is out there watching or whatever, and they stumble upon this video, they might be able to see it and sort of, get that.
Yeah.
And I included Deb in mine because she's definitely had a huge impact. Yeah, I'm cool with that. From the three of us, I'll screenshot. Yeah. I'm gonna screenshot this picture and I'm gonna attach it to it.
Okay.
1, 2.
It's so loud, that camera sound. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Phoebe, you know her, like I feel like you would know what flowers she likes or like colors or.
I've gotten her a whole array of them. I usually go for pastels, but that's just my wild guess. But Deb would appreciate anything.
Anything. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Well, we'll coordinate about that, and we'll do just that.
Yeah. This was so fun. Like I just want to stay and keep talking. It's so much fun.
Talk forever.
Yeah.
You guys have been so awesome. And much like a lot of my guests, again, it's funny because I don't know you guys that well, but like I said, every time we've linked up, it's always been great conversations, always been great vibes, which I always appreciate. And I'm thankful that I get to, in this quarantine time, thankfully I've had something to promote. Siren came out in April and in May, which
Oh
is
yeah.
cool. Upload came out, I think, April, May?
May 1st.
May 1st, yeah. And obviously, Kibu,
The
KB2.
kicking booth.
It's so funny how, you know, it sounds like all three of us, right when this hit, we were at a place where we were just gunning for something and we were
Mhm.
forced to slow down. But in that sort of stoppage, you get to kind of just sit back and go, man, look at all of my friends still doing big things, still thriving and still creating and still inspiring. And it's just, you know, I think who we are as people really gets to shine through in these times. And so I just wanted to say to the both of you guys, thank you. Keep doing you. Keep shining on them. And I wish you guys nothing but the best.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you. Also, like if another good thing, like honestly, if another good thing can just come out of this conversation being a conversation of its own, like, and somebody's watching this, I hope that us talking about being outsiders and like, and then now finding our place and even finding each other, like it can just put a message out there that it's amazing. Like being different and is a great thing, should be celebrated. And
Yeah.
so flowers aside, like I think hopefully like this is another good thing that could come out of what we've talked about for the last little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aw.
Well said.
Aw.
Well, cheers to that, ladies.
Cheers.
Love you guys.